What I have to tell you is, when we were kids, if anything went wrong, we'd always both get a hiding because he'd run up next to me and my father couldn't tell the difference. If he did something wrong, the one day my dad was working on a ladder at home, we were little lighters this size, and he saw one of us there, which was definitely not me, it was Ivan, and he said, "Just pass me the hammer," and he threw the hammer and it went through the window. And the old man came down the ladder, steam was coming out his ears, and the two of us ran. We hid around the corner, and then he said, you always spoke of your pastors, "Fidi, I'm a good boy." It wasn't me, I knew it wasn't me. And then we both get a hiding. That's it. But I was stuck Beamer's bottle the road.
In Oxford, you live very close round the corner from my grandparents. You had a very special bond. You were telling me the story about having to go and say goodbye to them before you went to school. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my dad had an acre of ground, and my grandfather had the acre of ground on Strandfontein Road, and that was the Infinity, that same area. We were just down 3rd Avenue, the next piece of ground, and there was a little walkway from the one house to the other. So my father always used to go up and go and see how his mom and dad is, and then come back. And as kids, we played there a lot at his place because he had the chicken business, but we'd always go and help him collect eggs on a weekend, and then we'd get all those soft eggs that didn't have enough calcium or whatever, and we could have that, and then we'd mix that with sand and make mud and make a little castle or some silly thing. And those are the memories. Somebody mentioned the other day of a whole group of us there, all the family one year, and a baboon came running through and chased us all, and I can't remember who had grabbed Eric's egg or something. And we were all standing there.
Everybody in by the back door, by Omar's door, and as I wanted to go in, the thing had me around the waist.
Anyway, and eventually somebody had a gun, and they shot the baboon, and we were running down the road. What did you ask me to say? You asked me now, sorry, I get carried away, I sidetrack myself. Oh, in the mornings when we go to school, we've always got to go and say goodbye to the grandparents, before we go to school. And then when you go in, then the old man is still sitting there, and he's sitting at the table. This is my granddad. And then he'll take out a tikkie. And he'll give me a tikkie, give Ivan a tikkie. Off to school we go, And we used that was like you could buy a sweet in school, a couple of sweets with that. But we got convent schoolers.
Coffees for a penny in those days.
Yeah, a tikkie was a lot of money. And we got suckered the one day because we were in sub A, and as we're sitting at school the one day, and the one guy taps me and he says, "In class." But it wasn't in class, it was in the playground because he was a standard higher. But he said, "I'll give you one of these big coins for that little coin." Sure, pocket. You can have the little one. But it was like a tikkie, a half cent instead of a 2.5 cent. And we got home and I showed my dad, "Look what I got, I swapped it for the tikkie that no one gave me." Oh, then the old man sat the two of us down and explained us the value of money, So we got sucked. And then we also, when we got older, my brother got a pellet gun, and I wanted a bow and arrow because I thought I was Robert Hood or something. And we used to sit behind the fence, because there was all bush behind the back of his grandpa's property and house, and we'd sit there and wait for the chickens to come the free range runs running, and we shoot this chicken, but he just goes pop, and he's okay. And we must have put about 10 minutes into him, and he didn't die. But the next morning we see this thing, this one chicken limping around, and then we shot him again. And now we got to lift it through the fence and get it over. I don't know what we did with the thing because it was, we would have got lead poisoning if we ate it. A lot of mischief.
Was that the old BSA?
It was an old BSA. Anyway, I don't know.